is true? What is true? What is true? Truth is love.
It's
Hello
your
and
show.
welcome to hello.
Damn.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth, Honesty, and Transparency. As you see, I had a brain freeze just for a moment. It has been a while. It has been 2 weeks since I have, since we have interacted, sir.
Facts.
But tonight's topic is about consequences versus punishments.
Well, we're just gonna come on in hot, huh?
Yeah, but the thing of it is like for the last 3 episodes, because I have been so busy with work that I have forgotten to go and get me some wine. So this would be a red wine episode. We gotta break this up because it's been like 5 or 6 red wines in a row. But what are we gonna do? When do we get some white?
Man.
When do we ever keep it light?
What up? What up, Blast Nation? What up?
The thing of it is I don't do small talk. So how do you keep it light? To me, keeping it light is real small talk. So
okay. Whatever the princess desires is what now is required. So we're just gonna get into punishment and consequences. So
punishment versus consequences. So with me, if someone does something that is maliciously egregious or just egregious and disrespectful,
right?
To me, a level of consequence has to come into play because just telling them or letting them off easy often doesn't work.
True.
So the consequences to me, and I don't think people have a fine line to know when is the level of punishment and consequences. So my consequences would be, freak it. I'm just going to treat you how you treat me. That's the level of consequence for your action. If you want to do better, if you want to be treated better, then you need to do better.
Okay.
However, a level of punishment is, I'm just gone. You'll miss me when I'm freaking gone, and you're going to always miss me. Because someone who I took on a picnic, like I cooked Cajun shrimp pasta, and we went in on a picnic.
You did what?
I cooked him Cajun shrimp pasta, homemade garlic bread, a side salad. We had wine, and I made a 7-Up vanilla pound cake. We went on a picnic. That was literally over. I know that was like in my damn 20s, so that was like well over 11 years ago.
Wow.
And he still remembers that too. He still remembers that. In fact, he contacted me and he was like, I want to go on another picnic. I haven't been since you. Well, if I set the bar so damn high, why haven't you don't have to wait for her to do it. You do it. But what I'm saying, the consequences of you not doing right is me leaving and never, ever talking to you again.
Right.
I mean, that's the punishment.
Yeah.
And
so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's just, it's like when we were kids, when we were on punishment, we were deprived of the things that we actually enjoyed.
True.
But the consequences for our actions would be if we did, consequences of our action would be, let's say we did something at school, the consequences of that is detention.
Right. So I knew what we were talking about tonight. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to start with the Webster's dictionary definition, right? So we start from there.
Okay.
The definition of punishment is the infliction or imposition of a penalty as retribution for an offense, right? Now, the definition of a consequence is a result or effect of an action or a condition. You know, we talk about punishment and consequence a lot, especially in the Black church. And one of the things that I explain to people, and like I explain to my little ones, if I'm in the kitchen, I mean, you brought up cooking, right? If I'm in the kitchen and the stove is on and the stove is hot, and I say, don't touch that stove, it's hot. You touch that stove anyway, right? Now, I'm gonna be mad that you didn't listen to me, but you know, I can choose whether or not to punish you because you touched that stove. But guess what? As a consequence of you touching that stove, now you done burnt your finger. And a lot of times, there's nothing that can be done about that consequence.
Nothing, because a consequence is a direct result. So you're already getting that.
Absolutely.
But that's why I said, with me, it is a level of, I'm going to treat you exactly in the manner in which you treat me. That's a consequence of your action.
Let me tell you why that's wrong. And I'm gonna tell you why. No, it's not that it's wrong, but I don't understand. Sometimes I don't know if you understand how powerful you actually are, right? So like if a lamb or a sheep does something to me, you say, well, I'm gonna do you just like you did me, but you're a fire breathing dragon. Right?
That's not what I mean.
But see, that's what it is though, because of your personality, and I'm teasing with you, but you also know that I'm actually serious.
Yes.
That sometimes, because of who we are and the stature of who we are and our personalities and whatever, that same action can be perceived as taking it up a notch. You know what I mean? So like, if you know, I'm 6'2" and 350, right? If I hit someone, it's going to be different if my son, who's 4'2", 80 pounds, hits someone. You get what I'm saying?
But the lesson that you will learn is don't do that shit anymore. Because that's what we're trying to get to. The ending result is just don't do this shit anymore.
Okay, so in the news today, right before we came on, it was announced that your favorite R&B singer and mine, sarcastically, Mr. Robert Kelly, aka R. Kelly, was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Sylvester?
Yeah.
That's the punishment for him not controlling his urge to diddle in the kiddie pool.
But here's the real question though. Is it enough? Is it enough? I am of the mind that he got off light.
No. He got off light when the first time he went, he was acquitted.
Right.
That was the lightness. Now the thing of it is another punishment. Not only do you get 30 years, but your livelihood has been stripped from you. Your ability to make music, and it's kind of hard. And my thing of it is that, like I tell people, I don't know Robert Sylvester, but R. Kelly made some great freaking music. And now, because of what you did, all that can be canceled. But not only that, do you know how many collaborations he had that were great? Music that he wrote for others that were great. All that gets canceled now, all because of decisions that you chose to make. So the consequences are, you got brought up on charges.
Yeah.
The punishment now is the fact that your livelihood is gone, and dude, you 50. You're not gonna get out until your ass is 80. So you have no more life left. And now when you're getting there, a double entendre punishment is if they do you just like they did those little girls.
Right. Yeah. Because they do have a tendency to do that.
But then again, he's R. Kelly, so they just make him sing and dance in a little skirt and put a wig on that bald head.
Right. So is your presupposition
Mm-hmm.
that true punishment and consequence can are not really equally given to people who may be in the public eye or who have the adequate resources for defense or things of that nature? Do you think everything is on a fair slate when it comes to punishment and consequence?
You know it's not, because my thing of it is that you can't have a punishment without some level of consequence, because it's a direct chain effect.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have a consequence without it leading to a punishment. And you
Right.
already know that with this being a capitalistic society,
Facts.
that it's disenfranchised to those without significant financial means.
Right. Right. So if that's the case, then is there a such thing really as justice? Is there a such thing as punishment and consequence? Because it's really all about
To me,
how much money do I have to get out of trouble.
well, justice is subjective, and you know that.
Right. Right. But okay. So how about this?
Did R. Kelly get a form of justice? Did the girls who he was fiddling with so long ago get some form of justice? I believe that their purge started with surviving R. Kelly. That is when that was their level of catharticism and their purge of that pain, because someone gave them a platform to talk about it.
Right.
That was their road to justice, however someone may see fit. Now, to me, there's different levels to it. R. Kelly did the act, yes, he did, but these were young girls, so the responsibility of their protection from a grown predator that has been known since the 1990s, but yet you still want your teenage daughter around him. You heard the rumors.
Right.
So where does parental responsibility come into?
Facts. Absolutely.
So yeah, R. Kelly closed it, but you served her up on a silver platter.
That was always, and don't get me wrong, you know, God bless the dead, but that was always my argument with the whole Michael Jackson case. It's like, yeah, you want to vilify this man, and we don't know, because there's no videotape footage of what he did or did not do. But at the end of the day, where are the parents?
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. You still there's no freaking way. It's one thing to open up Neverland, the theme park, to kids, but why the hell are you there? To meet Michael Jackson, that's all cool and well. He's there to do a Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's great. Right. But why in the hell do you have to stay all night? Don't you have somewhere else to freaking go?
But I mean,
which is what still. A parent. But what I'm saying is,
right.
As a parent, you being very much so protective of your tribe, of your offspring. If your daughter had a beautiful voice, and you know how great R. Kelly is, there is no way in hell, I don't give a damn what he asked you to do, are you going to leave your daughter around a grown man with whispers that he is a freaking pedophile on any level? Like, what kind of pederast behavior do you have? But then you want to blame him, but you're not blaming or putting yourself. So that's what I'm saying. You want to be honest without telling the truth. You want to be honest. Yes, R. Kelly screwed your daughter, but you served him too. Where's your truth in that?
And for those of you who are listening, no, we're not getting off the subject, because there are these topics. Not only are they real, but they show us that there is punishment and then there's consequence. Yes. I was just reading an article about Elvis with his ex-wife Priscilla Presley, where she documented that he groomed her from the age of 14.
I mean, that's no different.
He met her while he was stationed in Germany, and he was 24 and she was 14.
And there's something severely critically wrong with that.
You get what I mean? And it's like, so but that and so he basically groomed her for about 10 years before they actually got married, but then they were only married for 7 years.
Before
So
he died.
no, before they divorced.
Oh,
You know, and she had kids, or a kid, I think.
mhm.
But the thing is, it's like when you are a certain level, sometimes you really believe that you are above punishment and consequence.
Yeah,
You really believe that the rules don't apply to you.
you're invincible, you're above the law, you are the exception to the rule. How are you going to be an exception to the rule when you're doing rule type shit? Like,
Yo, I mean, really though. I mean, because if we're gonna talk about Elvis, if we're gonna talk
we
about
gotta
Michael,
we
we gotta talk about Bill. Bill Cosby.
We
Gotta
gotta
talk
talk
about
about Bill. We gotta talk about what was that Jerry Lee Lewis who married his cousin who was young,
Right.
underage. I mean, the list goes on about these famous men. I mean, if that's the case, well, that was kind of different because he was grown. However, she was still a predator. But anyway, we're gonna leave Jada out of this for now.
You talk about the entanglement?
Yeah, but we're gonna leave Jada out of this now because we're talking about underage or using. Actually, no, because what we're talking about is not necessarily underage, but using your powers to manipulate a situation, and the consequences don't come to you, let alone the punishment factor. Because my thing of it is Jada did what she did. August got vilified, Will got vilified, but her life is still pretty much intact from the outside looking in.
I mean, and if you got to look at like, we talked about the slap her around the world ad nauseum, but you got to look at that particular thing of consequence and punishment. Where is Will actually being punished? What are the consequences? Yeah, he's been banned from the Academy Awards, but he probably weren't.
Really a punishment?
Is that really a punishment? Yeah, he might not get any movie roles for the next 5 or 6 years, but when you're worth $300-400 million, is that
really a punishment?
You get what I'm saying? And so it's like,
no, I'm talking about things that are like he doesn't have the same level of fall from grace as Bill Cosby and R. Kelly has.
Right.
Because he didn't do the things to that level. However, you literally assaulted a man. To me, I believe he overreacted. I'm not saying that he didn't have things going on, but Chris didn't do it to you. That was a projection of his anger onto that man. I don't care what anyone said. That conversation could have been had after the Oscars to say, or he could have just stood up and said, "Don't do that," and set his ass back down.
Right. And so
there were a lot of choices that could have been made other than you physically causing that level of a disruption. You didn't have to do that.
Right. And so you can look at that from a number of ways. Like from Chris Rock's point of view, was the slap the consequence or was it the punishment? You know what I mean?
Oh no, Chris Rock got punished for something that had nothing to do with him. That slap was a complete punishment to Chris Rock.
Right.
However, it was a consequential result of something he said that led to an unnecessary punishment outcome. That's how I believe.
So here's a difficult question. And we've both been in tricky relationships. So here's a question. So it's easy to talk about punishment and consequence when we're talking about a celebrity that, for all intents and purposes, has enough money to not work for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
But does the scale of punishment and consequence, is it a sliding scale when it's someone who offers something to us that we are afraid to lose? Like you have people, and it's both men and women who are live in fear of being alone, who live in fear of dying alone.
Okay, so
yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What are you about
I was just gonna say, so that in that context, you can have somebody that mistreats that person.
But that's in self-inflicted punishment.
You think so?
You can leave. Yes, because if you are afraid to be by yourself and you're accepting anything, to me, that's a form of self-inflicted punishment because you can just up and leave. I know I was in a situation to where I was literally it was emotional, and I was being abused emotionally, and not emotionally as he would say anything to me, but he was withholding intimacy on all levels. It wasn't
What's good? What's good, L? Wow.
He wasn't conversing with me or anything. So I had to, when I saw that, and especially since I didn't do anything, if I had done something, I would allow that to be my consequence. But you can't carry this on too long, because now I'm not telling you to get over what it is that you need to get over, but a decision needs to be made. Do I need to allow more time? Are we going to start working towards this? Or we just need to separate and go out? Do we just need to go our separate ways? However, since I didn't do anything, I knew I didn't deserve that. And because I knew I didn't deserve that, I had to make the decision to no longer to put a level of self-inflicted punishment on myself. And I left. I don't give a fuck what it is. I don't care about being by myself. But I know women and men who stay in a situation because they're afraid to start over. They do it for the kids. And then you get to a point to where it's a level of resentment and you literally don't like yourself. Is it worth losing yourself for self-inflicted punishment, or too scared to start over? So, I mean, yeah.
And yeah, because you got to look at it like, if it was that easy, more people would be doing it. But clearly, on the Glass House last night, there had a guest that talked about, if you really want to look at the gauge of a society, check the suicide rates, right? You check the suicide rate of a society, that'll tell you how that society is. And so suicide rates in this country have been steadily on the incline for the past 3 or 4 years. So what does that say about our society? What does that say about that self-inflicted punishment, that if it was so easy, that more people would do it? Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's easy to get out of any hard situation, because mind you, I endured that situation for a little over a year before I just said, you know what, it's not working. I know I have to go. And how much I cared about the person is, I told him, I'm going to allow you to get a job before I leave, because I could have left at any time and he would have fell flat on his damn face. But I didn't do that. Even just because I still had love for him did not negate the fact of the self-love that I had for myself. And when I couldn't really and truly look at myself in the mirror, and I'm literally like, who the fuck are you? This isn't you. You don't do shit like this. You're not afraid to be by yourself. Let go of what could have been and look at what's now and get the hell out. That's what I did for me. But making that first step was hard, because I had been contemplating it 4 months before it actually happened.
Right.
So I'm not, by all means, am I minimizing the tug of war and what it costs to make that decision. But just as anything else, unless you're dead, you'll get through it and you move on, if you have the wherewithal and the self-investment within yourself.
But
you have to want to.
Right. So, but can you think of staying in a bad relationship is in fact self-punishment, but can you think of what are the consequences of staying in those bad relationships? Because the first thing that I think about is exactly that, and now you got baggage. Now you got trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't give people chances.
You got emotional scars,
right?
And you're projecting it on someone else that really didn't do shit to you, and they could have the purest and truest intentions for you, but you'll never know, because now you're bogged down with all this bullshit. You're second guessing yourself. You're second guessing them, even though they didn't give you a reason to do that shit.
Right. And so, it's just, wow. And relationships are hard enough in this day and time, and life is short, so
it very much so is. And it's like, so yeah, it's like the guy who I'm talking to right now. I literally sent him a text message and I was like, okay, I see that if I don't initiate contact, then If I don't initiate contact, then I guess we're not gonna speak. So we won't speak again until you decide that you want to talk to me, and that's just it. Because it's not gonna always be me.
Right.
That's again, that is one-sided and a form of freaking control that I'm just not gonna allow to happen.
Right.
I'm not doing that shit anymore.
Right.
Okay, are you gonna put this
So
up?
yeah, put it up. So let's be honest. A lot of married people stay together because of their religion. You know what?
Is it the religion or their beliefs and the vows and what they thought? Because what I found is that most people stay together because they're thinking they can either get back what was once was, or they had an idea of how the relationship would go. So you're working at that instead of being in reality and seeing that this shit is just not working. And I'm not just saying leave at the first sign of trouble. If those people, you like, just try to work it out. But if you're not getting what you need, if it's not giving what it's supposed to give, then just don't, because you're wasting precious time. What?
I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna speak to what Brother L just said. Sometimes I don't think it's the religious part. I think in all relationships there are red flags that occur that we make the choice to ignore. We, for whatever reason, could be physical, could be mental, could be emotional, could be whatever. There are always those red flags. And so what is the consequence of not heeding the warning?
You already know, as I said, you end up in a very bad situation. But that's with anything. I mean, that's just not from a relationship standpoint. That's from a friend standpoint. People show you exactly who they are. If you choose to ignore that and say shit like, well, he's never done it to me before. But it doesn't fucking matter if he done it. He's done it, period. That's the point. I've always said that if you want to see the true measure of a person, watch how they treat someone that they need nothing from.
Oh, that's a fact. That's an absolute fact.
That will literally tell you their character. That will show you their level of integrity. That will show you what it is they stand for. Period. Just sit back and watch how they treat someone that they need nothing from. I'm talking about that person has nothing that they feel of its value to them. But watch how they treat them. That's the same thing I say when I see people talking crazy to wait staff, when I see people talking crazy to people in the checkout line, valet, all this stuff. Like, you need this person to park your damn car, but if they scratch it, then you got a freaking problem.
Okay, so first of all, some of us ain't never had the valet service. That's number one. Number two, I'm just kidding. Number two, though, to speak to your point, I remember I went to get something to eat with my pops. And my pops was old school in the drive-thru, and he was really talking trash to the people that were working there because I guess they messed up something or whatever. And at a young age, I realized that it would be a bad idea to eat this food now. Because as a consequence of your actions, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to come back later. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to go to a different restaurant where they don't know me and can't recognize me.
Don't order, you don't say shit. Like I had a cousin like that.
Right.
It's a damn shame that you have to give someone disclaimers or get them in the right mindset to be an adult. I'm like, okay, so I have to tell you, watch your damn mouth. Watch your mouth, because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get shit that's meant for you. And it's always the innocent person that gets the brunt of the bullshit.
That is a fact.
So I used to tell her, watch your tone, stop talking to people crazy, especially if we're in here together. In fact, you know what? Fuck it, I'm not going anywhere with you. Your attitude is for shit, and I'll be damned if someone spit in my food because I can't be nice enough to adjust their day after you just fucked it up. I can't do that.
Right.
It doesn't even matter with the big ass tip. That doesn't make up for your rudeness and disrespectfulness.
Facts. L says it's their religious belief. They don't believe in divorce, so they stay in lifeless relationships. You know what?
Or both.
Yeah, and I always find that hypocritical when the pastor of said church is on wife number 2 or 3.
Or you isn't married at all. How the fuck you gonna tell me?
You know what I mean?
Nobody even wants you. Nobody
right.
wants you, and yes, you're telling me to wait. How long are you gonna wait, dude?
So we're halfway through the show, and it's time to play the Blast Artist of the Week.
Oh my God, this went by fast. This is a great topic.
You know what I mean? And so the Blast Artist of the Week is going to be the Divine Favor Project with Keep On Marching. And like to hear it here. No, it's not.
Okay. Keep on marching to what?
Just listen and see. Keep on marching, the Divine Favor Project, y'all.
They fought for what they knew was right, so that we all would one day see the light. They marched through the streets, they marched in the field. Some were beaten, some were even killed. So many in graves they laid, so many debts we never could repay. How could we ever look our children in the eye if we're just gonna let the dream die? Sometimes it makes me want to cry when we sit back and we don't even try. Our ancestors pay the price so that you and I could live and not die. Keep on marching, 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 keep on marching. When we know what we're really fighting for, the struggle should not have to be like war. Let's come together in these streets. Let's come together peacefully. Keep on marching, 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 keep on marching. Marching on, keep holding
And that was the Divine Favor Project with Keep On Marching, right here on Truth, Honesty, and Transparency here on the Blast Network. You threw me off with all shoving all that food in your mouth.
What?
If
That's
you
water.
no, okay, sure. If you are an independent artist or a stand-up comedian or content creator, why don't you go by www.blastmusic247.com, create a free profile, and let's get your art to the masses. Blast Music 247, changing the industry one artist at a time. And we are back.
Yes, we are. I just asked, was this a Sky Daddy song? Because
I had never heard that phrase before, but I promise you it's going to be on a t-shirt before the
It's
end of
gonna-
this week. The Sky Daddy line. I love that. Oh boy. Sky Daddy goodness. Shout out to my boy Big Los. Mass Apparel 20. Mass Apparel 91. 92, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sky Daddy blessings coming to a store.
Sky Daddy blessings. Boy, what kind of church is that? So we've been talking about punishment and consequences, and we've also been talking about the hypocrisy of certain organizations. And I'm not going to demonize the entire church, but there are some that will want you to do one thing, and while they do another.
Let's do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, and so there is even a punishment and a consequence for that.
Heaven and hell.
Nah, but I mean that's the ultimate, but it's really just your quality of life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
true.
and it's a thing of control. Like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were on the right thing.
Yeah. So it's a thing of control. So like in a lot of churches, I feel like pastors, the pulpit, will try to control people into saying, if you don't give your money, there's gonna be a consequence of you not paying tithes in this church. You know what I mean? And they point out a scripture that'll say it, not understanding that people really don't. Well, they understand people really don't read, people really don't study, so they don't understand that scripture that most pastors are pointing out that particular scripture wasn't for poor people. It was for pastors. It was for people, the keepers of the temple. And what is the consequence of ignorance?
Well, you know what my response to that is?
I'm scared. What is your response to that?
Well, when Jesus come ask me himself, I sure will give. When I call him on the main line and I ask him what he wants and he tells me I need to give 10%, then I will.
That's it. There go my boy right there. What's up, Carlos? Good evening.
Well, I'm just saying, that's just me. You can't tell me what to do. I'm not doing that. Give me your money. Give me a kiss on my ass.
But I mean, at the end of the day, though, what is the consequence of not thinking for yourself? What is the punishment for not thinking of yourself?
Jim Jones, David Koresh. Jim Jones, David Koresh, Helter Skelter. What was his real name? Charles Manson.
Right.
There's a million others, but I'm saying that is the consequence of not thinking for yourself. Like, the thing of it is, a sheep in a flock, that wasn't in a literal sense. That wasn't the damn literal fucking sense. Like, nobody's telling you to follow someone blindly. If that was the case, like when they say lead not by your own understanding, but what if your understanding doesn't fit mine? Like, I get what you're trying to say, but, and this is how I view it, the consequence of that is the punishment is you will never have your own life.
Facts.
The consequence is you will be brainwashed, but you will never live to your full potential because now you're not trying to live for you. You're going by someone that is just as flawed as you are.
Facts.
And saying that he's the second coming of what? What? The second coming of what? Because I haven't met the first one, so how do I know it's the second?
Well, I mean,
your ass dead. But what I'm saying is nobody says that. It was like, I don't know if you're the second one because I haven't even fucking met the first one yet. So when he comes and tells me that you are it, then I believe. But
It's funny. As you know, I used to work in the hotel industry, and one of the first hotels I worked in, like back in like 2005, 2006, one of my managers was a survivor of Guyana.
So she knew Jim.
Exactly.
She knew Jim.
And so it was always jarring because I remember her telling me that she was either in witness protection or she didn't want people to know where she was. And
why she telling you?
Because I have that effect on people.
But I get that, but she needs to shut the hell up because you don't know who the hell you're talking
to. This was years ago. Man, cut us some slack. The point of it is that you have to live with that consequence now. You got to live with the fact that so many people were duped by one man who was delusional. You know what I mean?
He was past delusional.
Right.
That man had done so much acid that he literally did not know. Right. It's like what he did was he perfected the manipulation of religion. He actually went to church to study the loopholes and then created his own religion. And I be damn, how you going to get me to move to an entire different part of the world, build my own thing, and then tell me that build my own hut? Like, you don't even have this excavated. Like, none of it is built up. It's not good for living at all. So,
right.
And then at the end, because for one, you're still on, that was Guyana, not Guam. But yeah, so for one, you're still getting American tax breaks, but you're not giving all your tax returns and saying exactly what is going on. If it hadn't been for those last 2 or 3 people, I don't know if it was the black woman that was in the movie who pretended to be dead. He told kids don't drink that shit.
Right.
And hid up under the other dead bodies.
Right. I mean, ain't that crazy?
Don't drink that. But then you had to wait because I think if it's the same one, followed up on her just to see. And she was like, they stayed there for 3 days. Until the coast was clear for her and her kids to get up and get out. But how? I guess my thing of it is because I did this when I was going to be a psychologist. It wasn't so much as, so I studied the David Koreshes, the Jim Jones, the Charles Manson. I already knew what narcissistic characteristics they had in their level of manipulation. It was more so the followers. What happened in their childhood? What was so defective in their upbringing? What was lacking? What did they need that they had to cling on and attach themselves to anything that resembled a level of love? Right. And now the consequences is for that lady, she can never be her true self anymore. Like she can no longer live the life. Let's just say her name was Lilith. She can never lead the life that Lilith was meant to lead. Now she has to live the life of Sarah Jane, and she don't even know who the hell Sarah Jane is. And the thing of it is, it's a complete lie. You can't even pepper that lie with even the resemblance of the truth.
Right. And it's funny that you brought up narcissists, because oddly enough, my pastor talked about that this past Sunday in his message when he was talking about the history of narcissists and where it comes from. That Narcissus was in Greek mythology. He fell in love with his own reflection.
Yes, he's one of those. He reminds me of the I don't know if you did you ever watch the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Absolutely.
So the gray guy, Aaron Elan.
Yeah.
What's his name? But anyway,
the gray dude.
Great. The guy who couldn't look at his picture. However, he still had a very grandiose sense of grandeur and self. It's like I've had to tell people that before. Like, you can just hear them talking and it's an air of bullshit. It's like this guy who I was talking to, I told him, you have a grandiose sense of self. And none of that shit is true.
Dorian Gray, but yeah,
Dorian Gray, yes.
yeah, right,
But you could tell that he had that air of arrogance about him.
right,
And it was him that was literally his own demise.
right, right,
So that's normally how it is with narcissists. If they can't find their own supply, the consequence of them being that way is they literally end up by themselves. That's
right.
the punishment.
Yeah, no doubt. Because this is what Elle said. It must be easier than we think because it's still happening in this country. And one word. Did and that one word was Trump. Have you been following the congressional hearing
I
on?
have.
Did you see old girl get up there and say that then President Trump tried to choke out one of his own Secret Service agents?
Yes. That is a man that literally, if you did not do what he stated, would throw an adult temper tantrum and have fits and bouts of rage. It's just all the things that went there, but people were too scared to speak up just because he's the president. I don't give a fuck who you are. You put your hands on me, I'm going to be in jail.
Facts.
I don't give a shit. Be like, you can't hit the president. The president shouldn't put his fucking hands on me, period.
You know
I don't
what?
give a shit.
I'm sorry, but just because I know you a little bit, just because I know you just a little bit, I would pay money to see that happen.
No, but I'm serious. It's like when, you know how when he was talking to the reporters and he would say they would say things that he didn't like and he'll tell them to shut up and be quiet.
Right.
My thing was, who the fuck you think your fat ass talking to? Don't tell me to shut up. If you don't want to answer the question, that's fine. If you're going to tell a lie, that's fine. But don't you ever in your fat fucking orange life ever tell me to shut the fuck up. I would have been the worst, most watched reporter. Because when he was like, I know it and you know, I don't know shit, but I do know you're lying.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh my God, if I could just morph into something, I will morph into that reporter that he told to shut up. So I could say, don't you tell me to shut up. You're the one that needs to shut the entire fuck up. You shouldn't even talk. You gonna answer the fucking question.
Yo. Who out there in the audience would have loved to see that? Right? So no doubt. But I got a question for you.
Yes.
And you could take a few seconds to think about it if you need to. Something tells me that you won't. What do you think the worst punishment of all is? What do you think the worst punishment that you can either inflict on yourself or inflict on others?
Okay.
What do you think when you think of worst punishment?
So worst punishment for self is self-doubt. Because you doubting yourself, you will never accomplish anything. You will have a level of regret, but you only have yourself to hold accountable for that.
Right.
I believe it's self-doubt and never applying yourself, and you can't because you're doubting everything. The worst thing that you can do for a human is ostracize them and take off their ability. That's what, like solitary and confinement. That's the worst thing you can ever do for a human because we need that level of contact. It's one thing when we choose not to be around a person because it's by choice. It's another thing when you're forced. That's the reason why so much shit happened during quarantine.
Right.
We were forced into isolation. And if you didn't have someone there to interact with, some people just couldn't handle things like that.
That's the truth.
So that's the worst thing that you can ever do with someone is cut off all contact with other humans because we need that. We need that interaction. We need the possibility of love. We need that possibility of intimacy. We need to converse. And even the most introverted person will go crazy in isolation. Because it's no longer a choice. So I believe isolation for mankind and humans, but self-doubt when it's self-inflicted. What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with that. I know for me, one of the worst punishments or consequence is not living a life fulfilled.
Which would be self-doubt.
You know what I mean? And like in we've been on this this Bible thing on this episode for whatever reason. But one of the scriptures that scares me to my core, and I guess it's because I'm a creative, is the parable of the talents in the New Testament. And the parable of the talents is that a master was leaving and he had 3 servants. He gave the first servant 5 talents, and he gave the second servant 3 talents, and then he gave the last servant 1. And he said, you are to take care of this and to do something with these talents while I'm gone. And when I come back, I want to know what you've done with them. And so the master leaves, and the person with the 5 talents, he multiplied his talents. The second one multiplied his, but the last one, he buried his talent. And therefore, when the master came back, he was punished. And as a consequence, his talent was taken away and given to someone that could multiply it. That, to me, makes me nervous. It's almost like why I don't have a lot of patience with people who don't want to follow their dreams and don't want to follow their ambition, because I am so afraid of when my time comes and I haven't multiplied what was given. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so for me, yeah, go ahead.
No, for you, what?
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. Have you seen Coach Prime?
Yeah.
Deion Sanders. Not him, but the documentary.
Oh, no, I haven't.
So Deion has lost 2 of his toes. He got them amputated.
Wow.
Yes, he lost 2 of his toes because of a fracture in his foot that he has had for years, and it started compressing his nerve. Plus, he had blood clots. But he found out that his mom had blood clots, his uncles died from blood clots, and so forth and so forth. So they're prone in his family. Right. So he's got skin grafts and all this stuff. So he's learning to walk again. But one of the things that he said that he was going to show his team was that even though he had the Hall of Fame football career, right? However, now that his ability to teach what it is that he knows and bring out the best in everyone and put them on a different level, and now Jackson State is getting a level of exposure that it never had before. Right. However, he feels as if things are working against him, because now he's in this ability to do something that he really loves, and he know he has a talent for it because his voice carry and it resonates. Now he's being pushed back. So what he was telling them is, don't take for granted the opportunities that are given to you. He made the decision because they were literally trying to say that we can make this work, and he was like, no, fuck it, just cut the toes off. If it's going to save my career, or do I have to still deal with this pain? Right. I would prefer you just to cut the toes off so I can continue on my mission. Right. But you didn't know that he got his toes amputated.
I knew he had something wrong with his feet. I didn't pay that close attention. I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what it was.
It's an actually good documentary. It's on YouTube. It's called Coach Prime. And you can see him actually going through it. It's like he was like, the only time before he got his toes cut off, the only time that he felt a sense of relief is when he took his shoes off, because everything was pinching and compressed in his shoes. Mm-hmm. So when he took them off, he felt better. But it's a great documentary. You see a side of Deion Sanders, because I've always thought him to be arrogant as hell. Right. However, I'm not saying that in some he didn't need to have a level of confidence, because the boy was good.
Good is an understatement.
But to cross over into 2 sports and still dominate both baseball and football, and everywhere he went except for Atlanta, he got a ring. San Francisco, Cowboys twice, or once. I don't care. I don't know. But he got a freaking ring. Facts. But I'm just saying, so wherever he went, he became that linchpin and that missing link that they needed to get through to the end. Again, he's that linchpin for Jackson State to project them, to propel them into the stratosphere where those kids need that level of exposure. Right. So to see him crying, knowing his level of resolve, says a lot to his kids. But yeah, I just wanted to say that when you said the talents, if he didn't get his foot cut off, he was telling him that the consequence would have been I had to be in this level of debilitating pain. My punishment would have been that I can't coach you to the level that I need to coach you at. So he had to make that executive decision to say, we're just going to cut the toes off.
Right.
Amputate.
Wow.
Get rid of the bitches. They're defective.
That is a heck of a thing. Carlos Massey, that's so true. I guess our earlier point, that's why when you go silent on your side piece, she puts you on blast. Wow.
Isolation is what he's talking about. Really? We have to go for the infidel road? Since we speaking in Bible terms, you and your damn Jezebel. Your Mary Magdalene.
Yo! But anyway. But that is a good point which you brought up about Dion and the consequences of that. Because how many people do you know? How many people do I know that live with the toe just because they don't want it to look a certain kind of way? They don't want their life to look deformed.
Well, they have these machines, these 3D machines. They can build him toes. He can get a prosthetic toe so he can walk. The only person that literally have to deal with that, however, this is a true testament to see if Tracy really loves him. And she does. When I tell you Edmonds was by his side every step of the way, and she was like, I'd rather for him to get rid of the toes than for him to be in pain. Because when he's in pain, I'm in pain.
But, okay, so hard question.
Mm-hmm.
That's Tracy Edmonds, right?
That's
money on money, right? If Dion worked at Foot Locker and he wasn't worth 30-40 million, and now he got a choice between, I got to work 60 hours a week to make this work, or be on disability, and now you got to take care of me. Now, what choices are going to get made then?
Okay, but you can't ask me that because I did that for 6 months. I'm different. Because if I'm with you regardless of the hiccups. I just need to be appreciated and valued. That's all I care about. As long as you make this decision to cut your toes off, is it going to change you? Or you're going to start feeling self-conscious. And if you want to walk around with hot ass socks on in Texas summer, that's fine. But that's for you, not me. I don't see you any differently, but you may see yourself differently. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
So I've done it before, and it wasn't me who fucked us up. It was him because, the financial responsibility, the paradigm shifted.
So basically what you're saying is that it didn't look right to that person. It didn't, for whatever reason, that was the consequence was too much. And so therefore it sort of messed everything up because it didn't look right to him. He would have much rather just kept the defective toes.
Yes, but my thing of it, yes, he would have much rather, because the aesthetics are no longer as you designed. It changed a little bit, but are you still the same person?
Right.
Because someone asked me, the guy who he was like, what if I'm missing the eye? I was like, are you still the same person? He was like, as long as we patch that shit up, we're fine. I'm not going to look into a hollow hole. So you patch it up.
The views and opinions.
What? I'm not going to sit there and look into a hollow hole. You clean that out the way you want to. If you can't, I'll do it. I'll do it, but I'm just not going to stare into a hollow abyss all freaking day. I'm not going to stare into the black hole.
You said a hollow abyss.
Yeah, I'm not doing that because I don't know where it ends.
Oh, help us, Sky Daddy.
Losing the eye wouldn't be the issue.
Right.
It's, are you going to change because you no longer have your eye?
Right.
And like I've always said this with people, like, and they was like, but change is inevitable. When I was like, don't change on me, grow with me. And I don't mean don't change for the better, but don't change the essence of who you are. Don't give me some fake shit. And then I get used to the fake, and then you totally switch up, and then who you really are is a total piece of shit. Now I gotta delouse myself and disinfect.
Right.
Because you are nothing like you said you were. So when I say don't change on me, grow with me, grow for the better, but still be you at the core.
Facts. So here we are. That was a quick hour.
It was. I mean, it normally always go by fast when we talk. So
no doubt.
When we have a show.
When we actually have a show that people show up to, that they ain't got other stuff to do. Just what I was about to ask. Do you have any final words? Is that your final word?
That was my final word for you.
So go ahead.
So thank you for tuning in for yet another great episode of Truth, Honesty, and Transparency. What I implore everyone to do is to actually sit back and think, are you putting yourself in unnecessary situation that cause you self-consequences and self-punishment? Does the punishment actually fit the crime, and is the consequences consequential? Are they germane to the situation? Yeah, that was a bit of a tongue tie.
It's all good. You got it.
Is it germane to the cause and effect? If it's not, then there needs to be plenty of thinking and soul searching, and decisions need to be made. I had to make one, and I'm just fine.
Bet. We will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in, and keep on keeping on. Thank Sky Daddy.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Truth is love.